You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the October 8th meeting for the Long Beach Board of Zoning Appeals. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. My name is Seth McCormick, and I'd call the October 8th, 2025 meeting of the Board of the Zoning Appeals for the Town of Long Beach to order. Meg, can you please call the roll?
Chairman Seth McCormick.
Here.
Board members Charlie Goodall.
Here.
Bob Lemay. John Mangle.
Here.
Fred Woods is absent. BZA Council Chris Willoughby. Clerk Treasurer Meg Collins, I am present. Building Commission Representative Joy Schmidt is present in the audience. That concludes roll.
Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to the meeting, Meg circulated the meeting minutes from the August 13th meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Old business, we have none. New business, we have none. Preliminary hearings, we have none. So we have two public hearings tonight. The first one is for Paul and Denise Fithian of 3013 Loma Portal Way. Meg, can you please read the petition into the...
Sure. This is a use and developmental standards variance petition requesting variance from the requirements of section 72.13, regulating storage or parking of mobile homes and campers, and 154.049, uses expressly not allowed. Petitioner is seeking a use variance to enable storage of a 25-foot boat in the back of the side yard next to the home's garage. The preliminary hearing opened in August. The September meeting was canceled, and the public hearing is set to open this evening.
Okay, Mr. Fithian, now's your opportunity to come up to the podium and present.
So Seth, as we open the public hearing, and I'll just state that all requirements to open the public hearing have been met.
Okay. So we are opening the public hearing for the petition of Paul and Diane Fithian. And now is your opportunity to go to the podium and present us your petition. Okay. Sorry, Denise Fithian. My apologies.
Hello, my name is Paul Fithian. My wife Denise and I reside at 3013 Loma Portal and have owned that home since 1994. We have submitted a request for this variance, and to summarize what the reasons are that we feel we should be granted approval for this variance. Excuse me. The boat we have is a 25-foot Tolman pilot house skiff that was built by us between 2009 and 2011 in that garage. So I have unique capabilities and expertise to build and maintain and service this boat. So offsite storage of this boat is an undue burden for us if this variance is not approved. Petition 2014-4-1 use variance was approved in June of 2014. However, this approval to continue to store the boat had a 10-year limitation, which is unprecedented in the history that we've been able to uncover of variance approvals in the town of Long Beach. If it had gone under the normal circumstances in 2014, we would not be here today requesting this variance. We have stored this boat at this location since 2011. There is no record of any complaint filed in the town of Long Beach since the original variance was approved in 2014. It is barely visible from the street and not offensive to our immediate neighbors. To the immediate left of the boat is heavy woods and an adjacent unbuildable parcel. To the immediate right of the boat, it is blocked by the garage. We have received 12 letters of support from our neighbors urging the BZA to approve this variance. The height of the boat is 11 feet 9 inches below the garage roof peak height of 14 feet 2 inches. The steep slope in our backyard prevents us from storing the boat there, which would have been preferred by us if it was convenient and capable for us to do, but it's not in that manner as we speak. However, we would be within our rights in Long Beach without a variance to store the boat on a parking pad at the top of our lot on Ridge Road, which technically is our backyard. But we believe the nearby homeowners on Ridge Road and Lakeshore Drive would prefer that we keep storing the boat in its current location, which is less visible to everyone. The unique construction of this boat and the technology and the engine, there are no capable people in LaPorte County that can do this kind of work and service. So to maintain the boat to a high standard and to keep it running efficiently and reliably is a burden, an undue hardship for me to have this boat away from my home where all of my tools and capability reside. And we urge and ask and request that this variance be granted to allow us to continue to store our boat next to our garage. Thank you.
Can you, can you stay up there for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just going to pause you. I'm going to look at this map right now that you provided in your application. Can you show us where the parking pad is?
There is no parking pad. I could build it.
Oh, so you're saying you could build a parking pad at the end of Ridge, at the back of the lot on Ridge Road?
Our property is similar to a pie shape with footage on Ridge Road, which overlooks Ridge Road and the homes on Lakeshore Drive there.
Okay.
We would be completely within our rights without a variance to put a parking pad up there and store the boat in what's technically our backyard.
Okay. So, okay. So your house, and I've been by your house, so it's focused. I mean, it's where you currently have the boat is directly next to the house. And then you've got the woods and the unbuildable lot next to that. And then far to the back of the property is where Ridge Road is, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is the next step do we have a public comment or do we ask questions? Okay. All right. So there's a lot of people here and I'm assuming based on the number of letters that we received, that most of you are here for this petition. And we'd like to do this since we have people on Zoom and present, we're going to kind of do this in the most orderly fashion that I can figure, which is we will do the people in this room in support, and then we will do the people in this room who are here to speak against it. And then we'll switch to Zoom and we'll have the people for Zoom in support speak and the people for Zoom who want to speak against to speak. And then, everyone should know that if you submitted a letter, we did receive and we did read your letters. And so if you're going to get up and read your letter, please don't. We've read them. But if you have something else to say, please feel free to speak and it's your right. So, okay, you can take a seat. All right, and then we'll kind of do this as orderly as we can. So starting at the back of the room from the right to the left, and then we'll come up a row, right to the left, and so on. So if you're here to speak in support of the petition on the back row, and are you here to speak on behalf in support? Okay. Who's here to on the back row? Who's here to speak in support of the petition? Okay. So starting with you, sir, in the navy sweater.
Yeah, my name's Stephen O'Connor.
You can, this is a public meeting and it has to be recorded. So everybody's got to come to the podium. Thank you for the cooperation.
My name's Gino Naughton, and I'm here with my wife, Ann. We live,
Excuse me, one more detail, name and address from everybody.
my address is 3006 Mayfield. It's really fronts on Loma Portal. We are the house that would be most affected by the parking of the boat at Paul's house. Our front door abuts and looks directly at Paul's front door. We look directly at his boat. We can see it every day when we leave the house and every day when we sit on our porch with our grandchildren and enjoy looking at his boat. Not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but the color scheme of the boat matches his house. On the left side, as we're looking at it, there's all like a wooded area. Nobody from that side, nobody coming down Mayfield can see the boat. The boat is lower than the house. It doesn't exceed the height of the house. One of the things that's great about government is that government is fair. Government also has precedents. You have a precedent here. You have someone who's had a boat and has already received one of these waivers. I don't see any reason why that waiver should be taken away. Somebody on board before has already voted on this. Nobody complained about it in that period of time. And if there is any issue here, the only issue would be, are there people who are also applying for a variance such as Paul's? And as I understand it, there are none. So I don't see why this variance shouldn't be allowed again. There hasn't been a problem in the last 10 years. When we sit and look at his boat, we enjoy it. We don't find that it is something that is unappealing. When we bought the house, we knew the boat was there. We saw the boat, and it didn't have any effect on us. In fact, we figured these are fun, happy people across the street, and that was something that helped us in deciding to buy the house. So I don't think that it's aesthetically unappealing to anybody. I don't think it should bother anybody. I know that I've talked to everybody on our street. Nobody is offended by it. So I think that he should be allowed to continue, since he's already had it for 10 years, to have another waiver. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Kevin Flemington, 2409 St. Lawrence. I'm here to support Paul in applying for the variance. And I think he made a good point. He works on that boat on a regular basis. I've actually helped Paul a little bit on the boat. And having that boat in offsite storage would definitely present a hardship for him in doing modifications and maintaining the boat. So I hope you can approve the variance. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Larry Brown. I live at 3005 Loma Portal, and we have watched Paul build his boat. We have enjoyed the process of having his boat in the neighborhood. And I truly believe that, Long Beach is, has a little bit of a maritime history. I mean, we're right alongside one of the greatest bodies of water in the entire world. And, having a boat there just makes me feel like I'm more part of that maritime history. And we enjoyed the boat. We've enjoyed the Fithians. The boat is not a distraction. We're passing by it several times a week. And I would hope that you continue with the variance that was before and continue it right on through for however long that the boat will be there. It's not a burden to us in the neighborhood. And, we really like having it there. And, the variance is in order from what we can tell from our neighborhood standpoint. Thank you all for listening.
All right. So now the second row from the back, if you're here to speak. Oh. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Matt Troy. I live at 2920 Roslyn Trail. I was out walking on Sunday and I saw the ordinance sign or the meeting sign at Paul's. And I teased him. I said, "Oh, are you expanding your house?" He said, "No, I need a variance for the boat." And it's my understanding that no other variance has been granted for this process. Continuing my walk, there's a boat, an Elbridge Trail in front of a house. Has that been ticketed? Has that been cited? Lindale Trail, there's a camper that someone's living on, extension cord running to the camper. Has that been cited? There's a trailer on Lindale in someone's side yard. There's a jet ski at 2917 Belle Plaine in the side yard. There's a jet ski at 2028 Lakeshore Drive. If we're going to enforce the law, get them all out or give everybody a variance. It seems that he's getting jammed up to me. It doesn't, that is on the side of his house. And whether we say side, front, back, it's not a nuisance. It's no more nuisance than that natural dune grass that grows on Mount Clair Way behind House House. So I just, unless everybody's going to have their vehicle, we'll discuss golf carts at another meeting, but unless all that crap is taken out, I can't see why he does not enjoy another variance. It's been nobody's problem for 10 years. Thank you.
Okay, now who on the second row from the back is here to speak in support? Okay, is there anyone on the second row starting with Joy's row? Is there anyone here to speak in support? Okay, is there anyone on this front row here to speak in support? Did you say front row? Sure.
My name is Darren.
Hold on. Are you here to speak in support?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, it's a question. My name is Donna Nielsen, and I live at 3000 Loma Portal Way, right up the hill from Denise and Paul. I have known Denise, well, we bought our first house in 1985, so I have known Fithians for a very long time. And I always, whenever I go down to the beach, I always say, the boat's out, because it's just, it's just part of our step 30. My question is, this variance is being reconsidered after 10 years, correct?
No, but also we're here to hear public comment. And so if you have a comment, that's fine. We're not here to answer questions.
You will answer questions?
We can't answer questions.
Oh, okay, well, then I can't answer. But I am in full support of Denise and Paul's vote. Where it is, it causes no problem in terms of traffic or anything like that. So we certainly, I guess this is new to me that a variance is revisited after 10 years. We had a variance when we built our new house. And I think to myself, are they going to redo our variance in 10 years and so we rip out the front driveway? Just an example. I just haven't heard of variances revisited. Maybe that's the rule now. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay. Are you here to speak in support? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Peter Kelly. I live at 2316 Foxdale. I'd like to first of all say thank you to the board members for taking time out of their life to serve the community. That's it for that. Now, if I would like you to, when you have to make your decision tonight, look at the town seal that's on the wall right behind you, and you'll notice a boat is one of the featured items on the town seal. Not just any boat, but a personal pleasure craft. Keep that in mind. That's what this community is all about, is the lake, the sunset, and the boat. So I hope you'll make the right decision. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else present in the room now that wants to speak in support of the petition? Good, go ahead.
Thank you to everyone and thank you to the board. We've heard a lot of voices
We need
expressing.
your name and address.
Sorry, Andrew Kelly, 2316 Foxdale Trail. Thank you. We've heard a lot of voices in support of Paul and Denise Fithian for good reason, because they are very generous people who have given very generously to the town and to their neighbors. Now you will hear a lot of voices possibly speaking against this variance, but I'll be very surprised if they are actually speaking from a part of some undue personal burden on themselves. And so I would just implore the board to listen and think critically about the arguments that they're putting forth before you. I hope you'll reconsider the variance. Thank you.
Sure.
Mike Nielsen, 3000 Loma Portal Way. I'm Donna's husband, and we've been here for 40 years. We built our permanent house 15 years ago, and we have grown to love the Fithians. Wonderful, wonderful people. We watched Paul build that boat, and I thought, wow, who's ever built a boat that we know? And I go by Fithian's house probably 5 or 6 times a day, you know, whether I'm going to Al's or going to CVS, just 5 or 6, and you don't really notice the boat. We're 2 doors away and then across the street. So if I come down the hill, you can't see the boat because it's behind the house, meaning on the side. And then from the front, all you can really see is the bow. And as Paul mentioned, the lot or the property to the south of the house is fully wooded, and then the backyard. So it's really no problem. But when Paul was building it, it just everybody got into it. It was really something. I mean, I don't know anybody that's ever built a boat. That'd be like building a car, you know. So it's just wonderful, and we hope that you will grant him the variance. And I concur with what Donna said. I mean, it's been for 10 years and it's not been a problem. It's part of the neighborhood, and it's just wonderful. So thanks.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak in support of the petition? Okay. Now, is there anyone in the room who would like to speak against the petition? Please raise your hand. Going once, going twice. Okay. So now we'll go to Zoom. Is there anyone present on Zoom who would like to speak in support of the petition? Raise your hand now or lose your opportunity. Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak against the petition? Okay, hearing nothing, I'm going to close public comment. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is John Fee. I've been on, and I don't know what you've heard, but can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. We need your full name and your address.
John Fee, 3018 Mayfield Way.
Okay. Are you here to speak in support of the petition or against the petition?
Against the petition. And I need to say, this isn't about Paul and his wife. Paul, I don't know his wife, but Paul's a very nice man. This isn't about that. My concern is that we've had a boat there for 10 years, and I see it all the time. It just reeks of we're trying to save some money from boat storage. And if you look at the ordinance, I'm worried about boats, campers, trailers. I think we have the door open right now for others. I have a neighbor, real quick, 40-foot trailer who thought it was no problem to put it in his driveway. It was there for on and off, or I'm not going to say the name or whatever. He's a friend of mine, but probably 60 days went by on and off, and he finally did the right thing and bought a rental house and had a garage, and he put it in the garage, but a 40-foot trailer sat in Long Beach on and off. And I just talked to the marinas, and boat storage is about $800 for basically all year round outside, and inside's about $3,000. And just talking to the boat people, I didn't identify the community or anything, but there's a lot of Long Beachers and Shorelands and Michianas who have boats stored. And I'm just concerned about, we have one boat, as I understand it right now, in the community. And I'm just worried about campers and, trailers and anything else. Someone else, I think it was, I didn't catch the name, but 2920, he was the fourth speaker talking about all the violations that are going on, I guess, right now. And I'm not aware of them, but I sure hope that we be true to the ordinance that was put in here and, try to stop that, because I do think it just mucks up the community by, putting, the playthings outside. And I just asked the board to consider it. And in what I wrote, and I understand not to reiterate what I wrote, but just to, if we could push it back, if we can turn it sideways, just to get, it is visible on Loma Porto from both the north and the south. But at the very least, can we just make it a 1 or 2 year term? Because I'm just afraid of others. And I know we can't ask questions, but I'm shocked that if I were a boat owner right now, I'd be using the Loma Porto boat as a reason why my boat should be here. And I'm not a boat owner. I have no interest in boats, but I'm just worried about the door that's open for other playthings to show up, boats included. Again, it's not about Paul. He's a great guy, but I think we have to differentiate what was the ordinance put in here for. I think it was to protect the neighborhood from the playthings. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Okay, one last call for anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in support or against the motion. You need to unmute yourself and speak up. All right, seeing no one, hearing no one, the public comments related to this position are closed. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fithian? Any members of the board?
I have none.
Okay. All right, then your presentation is concluded, and now we will discuss the merits of your petition and take a vote.
Mr. President, before you do that, I just want to remind all the members of the legal criteria that must be established and that you have to give due regard to in making any decision. And your options tonight are to approve it as requested. You can approve it as requested with conditions. Much like previous, the 10-year conditions is absolutely within bounds from previous boards, but conditions are allowed to be imposed. You can deny the petition, or you can make no decision and continue over if you feel like you need additional time to consider.
Okay. Okay. Bob, do you have thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are three criteria that.
There are three criteria that all have to be met to grant a variance. One is it has to not be injurious to the health, safety, or public welfare. I think this meets that. Not adversely affecting adjacent properties. Obviously, we've heard from a lot of neighbors who feel that it doesn't adversely affect their property. And the third one, which is more problematic, is strict application of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. I think this one fails to meet that criterion. I'm done.
Okay, I will submit to you that there are 5 criteria. The other 2 are the need for the use variance does not arise from a condition peculiar to the subject property, but rather from petitioner's personal preference and convenience. And then the 5th one is approval would interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted by the town of Long Beach as the BZA interjects the plan to contemplate the preservation of the residential use and character and around petitioner's property rather than encourage the non-conforming commercial type use proposed by petitioners. So, okay. So with those criteria in mind, Charlie, do you have comment?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, thank you to everyone who spoke. You could feel how much you're valued in the community, Paul, and really appreciate it. But what I didn't hear was strict application to the statutory criteria, right? I heard that you built it. I heard that it's aesthetically pleasing. I heard that we have a maritime history. I heard about enforcement and, you're generous. That's all great. But we have, regulations for a reason, right? And these regulations are very specific, right? And unfortunately, our job is to determine if these, the reasons that people brought up meet the specific requirements to grant a variance, and they really just don't. And I really worry that the last part, which you mentioned about consistency with the comprehensive plan, that we are a community of single-family homes. We try to maintain the aesthetic beauty of Long Beach, and opening up, variances for campers and jet skis and trailers and boats does not meet that comprehensive plan of what we want. I don't think the information that we were provided convinced me that we need another variance here.
Okay. John?
Sure. So the ordinance as it stands was actually well needed at the time. You don't need to be here too long to remember boats parked on Lakeshore Drive that made driving down Lakeshore Drive even more difficult than it is. So, we should not conflate Paul's request or people supporting it that we want to return to those days. That being said, the lots and the locations of houses and so forth in Long Beach are highly variable. There's houses that have front access and no rear access. There's houses that have front and rear access. There's even addresses that you would look at the address and say that's the front, but when you go look at the house, no, it's actually the back. So there's a lot of nuances to the way the houses are situated. And guess what? That's what the BZA is for, is to sort that out and say what's reasonable, what's not reasonable. Fithian's house sits deep on the lower flat end of the lot, and then it goes straight up the hill to Ridge Road. The boat goes back as far as it could. It could technically go on Ridge Road and be right there next to other people's frontals, and it would be within the stated ordinance. I don't think that's such a neat solution either. So I think anybody who actually went and looked and said this is not a very egregious violation at all, and unless you're looking for it, you're going to pass right by it and not see it. Maybe it could go back a little further, maybe not. I'm not sure, but I think it does pass muster on the requirements. It's obviously not immoral. It does not injure people's property values. I think Paul aptly stated that it would be a hardship for him to have the boat elsewhere. Along with it, even even beyond that, you get into the notion of, well, now you're going to legislate a bill for people in the town. The arrangement of the lot certainly is what creates the issue. If the house were at minimum setback in the front, yeah, he could pull it right back there, but it isn't. So for me, I think it satisfies the needs for a variance.
This one's a tough one for me, honestly. I think in terms of the first criteria, will this be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare? I think included in that is the burden on the police department. And Chief Swistek did send a letter to the BZA stating that they have been in the process of attempting to crack down on the has been quote unquote addressing the storage of trailers, boats, and jet skis across the town. And it did state that you were very cooperative with him when he did come and speak with you. But there's a big concern about the uneven enforcement and then the uneven enforcement capabilities of the police department and the burden on the police department if they're going to be required to constantly walk, discuss whether or not there is a variance that's available. Or if somebody's been granted a variance for a non-conforming use of the property. The flip side, the extension of that is that will the granting of this application create a snowball effect of everyone who has a boat wants to also park their boat on the property, on their own property. And we have an obligation and a duty, and it's a legal obligation because we get sued if we don't, is like uniformly enforcing the variances. So in other words, like if we grant a variance to one person and someone comes with a very similar same application and then we deny it, then we subject ourselves to liability in the courts for unequal treatment of similar petitions. That is partly that's partly fixed here by the fact that Mr. Fithian actually built his boat. The boat has specific needs that are, that are atypical of, kind of a more traditional recreational craft. So that mitigates that issue to some extent. With the second criteria, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected. Like the value will not be affected. You've met that today. I think all of your neighbors are in support of this. That's an easily goes in your favor. The need for the use variance does not arise from a condition peculiar to the subject property, but rather the petitioner's personal preference. My big problem here is that you do have a space on your property where you can put the boat. The question is that spot less desirable or more desirable to the community, right? I guess it could go in your backyard, but it could definitely go on a parking flat on your property at the top of the property, which then fixes kind of the issues that you have with offsite boat storage. So I'm not sure that you meet that criteria. The strict application of the zoning ordinance would not constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property. Again, you've stated that private offsite boat storage is inadequate for your purposes because of the special needs of the boat. But again, you would still have direct access to the boat at the parking pad. It's one of those things that is fitting within the rule worse than granting an exception to the rule. That's what we have to struggle with here, right? And finally, the approval would interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted by the town. There's been lots of talk about the fact that there was a previous variance granted. That variance has expired and is no longer in effect. That variance was granted at a time by a different board and frankly, a different town. And the nature of the town has slowly started to change. So the fact that this has been granted before doesn't really compel me one way or the other. I think we have to gauge this on the merits now. And I think the reason that and without knowing, I think the reason why it was a limited variance and a time limited variance was because of the concern that it may create a snowball effect. And that's manifesting now with some of the public comments you've seen, that people think that they can just park whatever they want, wherever they want, whenever they want. And that's not what we're trying to do here. So I'm not sure that the prior variance affects that. And so I'm not sure that you've met this criteria either. So, I mean, based on, the chief's concern about the uneven enforcement of this process and the uneven enforcement that's currently existing related to the parking of boats. And the boats are joined with trailers and jet skis and all the things that aren't allowed in that same section of the code. And that, that this is going to create the potential for a large number of variance requests, combined with the fact that you do have a place on your property where you could store the boat, even if it's a worse place. I'm not in favor of granting the petition. So
that would be a worse place for the town perhaps too.
I understand.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, but you're dealing with two evils here, right? I mean, what is the uniform application of the code, I think, from a governance standpoint, is more important than a one-off in this instance, in my opinion. But, so now, is it anyone prepared to vote on this tonight? Okay. All right. So we need to hear a motion to either, to either deny the petition or to grant the petition.
I'll make a motion to deny the petition.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we have to have a roll call vote since Fred's not here?
No.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor of denying the petition, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Mr. President, you are required to make written findings and decisions, of which, based on your comments, I have prepared proposed findings and decisions.
Okay.
That I can summarize and read for you to consider and change as you may.
Okay, that works.
First, I'd like to point out that the record will include all the petition as well as supporting documents, testimony, evidence presented during the public hearing, other materials presented to the BZA that are part of the public record, and the legal requirements set forth under the Indiana and Long Beach codes. With regard to the petition and based on your discussions this evening, and again, this is for your consideration to change, but again, the requirement is that you make written findings and decision to present one way or another. Based on the motion and approval to deny at this point, the proposed findings and decisions are as follows. Petitioners fail to meet their burden of meeting the required criteria to enable the BZA to grant the requested use variance, and more specifically, the BZA finds. And I want to remind you, if the petitioners, if your decision was, and based on your comments, it seems that's what you're finding, is they have the burden of proving all of them. If they fail on any one criteria, then it must fail if that's what your decision is and based on your findings. So number one, the requested use variances will be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, in that any such use will conflict with the general purposes of the R1 zoning district and residential uses in general, and negatively impact overall code enforcement by the town. Number two, the use and value of areas adjacent to the property included in the requested use variances will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner based on petitioner's representations as well as those in support of their petition. Number three, the need for the use variances does not arise from a condition peculiar to the subject property, but rather from petitioner's personal preference and convenience. Petitioners have the option to store their boat in a different location on their property and or offsite while still enjoying the uses permissible for their property. Number four, the strict application of the zoning ordinance would not constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the use variances is or are sought, as petitioners currently and will continue to be able to use the subject property for residential purposes in accordance with the R1 zoning district. And number five, approval would interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted by the town as the BZA interprets the plan to contemplate the preservation of the residential use and character in and around petitioner's property rather than encourage non-conforming and commercial type use proposed by petitioners. And so with that, your findings would then lead to the decision, support the decision that you've voted to deny. So what would be appropriate is discussion, changes to any of those, or if somebody were inclined to make a motion to accept the proposed findings and decisions as read, then you could take a vote on that. You could vote to continue and deliberate additionally. You could propose other findings.
Yeah.
Make a motion to accept the findings.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
So the petition fails.
Okay, so the petition fails. We will, that concludes the public hearing related to the Fithian petition, and now we will move on to the second petition of the evening, which is related to Yellow Bear Farms LLC at 2520 Shorewood Drive. Meg, can you read the petition into the record?
This is a use and developmental standards variance petition requesting variance from the requirements of sections 154.051, section B and E, permitted accessory uses and structures. Petitioner is seeking to construct a greenhouse on the west side of the property. The preliminary hearing opened August 13th. The September meeting was canceled, and the public hearing is set to open this evening.
That now, Meg, have all the requirements been met for publication and to open the public hearing?
Yes, all requirements have been met.
Okay. So we'll open the public hearing for this petition. The petitioners are represented by counsel, Mr. Novak. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the BZA. My name is Anthony Novak. I'm an attorney with Newby Lewis Kaminsky and Jones Court at 916 Lincoln Way, here tonight on behalf of the petitioner Yellow Bear Farms. Here with me also tonight via Zoom, if there are specific questions, is the project's architect, Amy Van Streek. This petition relates to property owned at 2520 Shorewood Drive in Long Beach. And specifically, we filed a petition for development standards on July 30, 2025. I can kind of isolate the issue here. It relates to the construction of a greenhouse and whether or not it's considered an other structure deemed a residential accessory use under code section 154.051 sub E. We were previously here in front of you on August 13th at an informational hearing. And given this uniqueness of the petition and this language in the zoning code that essentially indicates that an accessory structure could be deemed a residential accessory use and therefore permitted by the BZA. At that time, you all, including Fred when he was here, voted 5-0 unanimously to indicate that this greenhouse would be a residential accessory use that could be built. At that time, President McCormick gave us the option to either continue with this public hearing so that we could get an official variance, or otherwise just take the letter that you all would draft to the building commission indicating that this could be built. I wanted to be conservative here. I wanted to get an official variance approval, hopefully tonight, so that if we do go in front of the building commission, there's not an issue that they believe that. So a little bit about this property and the petition overall. Currently, the owner is building a single-family residence on the property and is trying to build a greenhouse here. From a review of 154-051, which deals with permitted accessory uses and structures, we believe a variance is needed. Before I get into that analysis, let me describe the greenhouse itself. And I know I've hashed this out with you guys, but since this is a public hearing, unless you guys would stop me and just take a vote in favor, which I would love, I'm going to continue through this petition so I can meet the elements and do everything that
That's what you got to do.
So this greenhouse, there's an exhibit 2 to our petition, which is the overall site plan, shows where the location of the greenhouse would be. So it'd be on the west side of the property. And the overall concept plan and the elevation of the greenhouse is attached as Exhibit 3 to the. This greenhouse would be 701 square feet in size, which is less than 1% of the property's total size of 291,000 square feet, and would cover 0.24% of the total lot coverage. It'd be 17 5/2 inches in height, which complies with the 18-foot maximum. It'd be set back 34 feet and change from the nearest side yard lot line, which complies with the 10-foot setback. And it's also set back a substantial distance from the front and rear yard, complying with those setbacks as well. The design intent of this greenhouse is to keep it clean and simple and to complement the existing design of the house. Materials planned to be used will be glass and aluminum on a concrete foundation, and the greenhouse is planned to include roof vents, side vents, double doors, and gutters. So to kind of get into the nuances and the legal analysis of why we're here. So I'll try not to bore you, but it kind of requires a little bit of ordinance understanding. So 154-051 is definitely the ordinance that we have to address. But then the question is it sub B or is it sub E? I do want to point out that 154-051 starts out as follows. The following uses and structures are permitted in a residential district, provided they otherwise comply. So the code is already stating that these types of structures are permitted. So it's kind of opposite most of the variants you see where it's not permitted. The code is already saying this is permitted. As indicated in the petition, when you read sub B and sub E, both of them could apply. So our petition has requested both, but I think the determination that we made at the preliminary hearing was it likely be sub E. Sub B, though, what it talks about is having a shed or a storage building for garden equipment and household items incidental to a permitted use, provided the floor area doesn't exceed 1% of the size of the zoning lot. We would clearly meet that. However, a greenhouse arguably is not like a storage shed, so we don't know if it necessarily meets the intent of that section. Subsection E, on the other hand, talks about various other accessory structures. Arbors, trellises, awnings, canopies, flagpoles, open terraces, landscaping walls, ground level decks, and then the most relevant part here, any other structures deemed a residential accessory use by the BZA located in the front, side, or rear yard. That's exactly what we believe that this is. In further support of that, I'm not going to read all of these definitions, but you guys, of course, have a definition section in your zoning code. It defines terms such as what a structure is, what a surface structure is, and what a building is, and particularly what an accessory use is. I do just want to point out that a surface structure gives a lot of things of what they could be, one of which is a garden house. I know garden house doesn't say greenhouse, but it sure seems like a garden house is a greenhouse. So the code itself already contemplates a greenhouse. It just doesn't explicitly state it in 154-051. Given that here's why I believe 154-051E applies. Greenhouse is clearly a structure. It's clearly a surface structure. And the surface structure definition already contemplates garden houses. Subsection E then already also says any other structures deemed a residential accessory use. This building is specifically going to be an accessory use to the residential nature of the property itself. So ultimately, what we're seeking here is, number one, what you guys have already done, a determination that this is another structure deemed a residential accessory use that can be built. But then also two, just to make sure we have everything we need for the building commission and actual approval of the development standards variance to permit this. As you know, with any development standards variances, 3 elements need to be met. First, that the variance requested will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. We believe we meet that because of the following facts. We're building an accessory structure on this property that, while not specifically listed in 154-051, is similar in nature to those that are permitting and existing in this town. And further, giving that the existing code contemplates structures such as these, that is, garden houses, granting of this variance will not be injurious in any manner. Number two, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We believe we meet that. We know we meet that, because the accessory structure is going to be compatible with other accessory structures in the immediate neighborhood. And in addition, it's going to be well-built, aesthetically pleasing, and if anything, it will increase the value of adjoining neighbors and the community as a whole. Finally, that the strict application of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties for the use of this property for which the variance is sought. It's unlikely that the drafters of this ordinance contemplated every single type of accessory structure that could possibly exist. That is supported by the fact that 154-051E, by its very terms, gives you all the discretion to deem something a residential accessory use that's not otherwise listed. As a result, by strictly applying the black letter of the ordinance, it will clearly result in practical difficulties in the use of this property, and it would prevent this owner from building this structure. So in conclusion, we would respectfully request that a variance would be granted under 154-051E to permit the building of this greenhouse. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Novak or the architect?
What you want to do. The ordinances.
What's that?
I'm struck that what you want to build is not against any of our ordinances. So what you don't really need a variance. What you maybe need is a letter from us saying that we feel that what you want to build complies with the ordinances. Because the ordinance doesn't really say you can't build what you want to build. Am I correct?
Yes, my concern there is just ultimately whether or not the building commission is going to accept that. And one of the main reasons I have that is my experiences with BZA is they generally approve or deny request rather than having letters that state strictly that, hey, they can do this. So I do agree with you that I think we just would need a letter that says a variance is not needed. I'm just concerned, however, that since the process that I'm here in front of you is requesting a variance, that I would like to have it actually in writing so that when I get to the building commission, I don't have the circular issue of the building commission interpreting it and saying you in fact need a development standards variance approval.
I think Bob's point though is, what are we to vary?
I guess the variance would be that the structure itself is not listed in 154-051, and to the extent of variances need, a variance is granted.
And I mean, to be clear, and I think you guys were present, I know it was several months ago, but we did make a determination at the preliminary hearing that this was the more likely definition was covered in E, and that no variance was required. We offered to send a letter, and then we also offered to permit the petitioners to proceed to public hearing to obtain a variance under B. And I think at one point they were going to do both. And then we canceled the last meeting because we didn't have a quorum. So now we're 2 months down the road and this is further delayed. Have you gone before the building commission?
No, we have not.
Okay.
We're set to go on Friday.
Seth, can you hit your microphone?
So, I personally don't mind the belts and suspenders nature of the request, as long as it's phrased in an appropriate manner that, it's our opinion that this is not necessary. But to the extent that the building commission has a different interpretation of the code, which based on the reading of the code, it is rational that somebody could disagree with our interpretation, that to the extent that one is necessary and they've met the standards here, then we could grant the petition. But we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about we see if there's comments?
Okay.
Let's continue with that.
Okay, is there anyone here within the room to speak on behalf or against this, in support or against this ordinance or this variation request? Okay, go ahead.
My name is Janice Brown and I own property at 2509 Shorewood Drive. And I'm here to support the building of a greenhouse on behalf of the owners and in recognition of the owners and the builders and architects. It's a wonderful idea. They're very respectful to the land, have done very ecological things in respect to Lake Claire, as well as the trees that are on the property, et cetera. I think the greenhouse is a fabulous idea that just shows that people make a commitment to the land and the neighborhood. It's wonderful to have. And we're very pleased, my husband and I, that there's one single family home because it probably could have been 20 homes across the street from us. So while that isn't the topic here, and because I just heard this discussion about do we need a variance or not, I'd still like to say supporting the greenhouse is fine with us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Michael Probeski, 2702 Duffy Lane. I just mostly came here to find out what's going to happen with the greenhouse. We didn't know really nothing about it besides getting this letter. And a lot of people was, well, you know, like how big it was, and you said, and that what are they going to be growing in the greenhouse? And if it's going to be,
I will say we're well
with all these
we're
pot
not-
shops.
Yeah, we're not supposed to answer questions. We're here for your public comment, but
Well, I
but
thought
to be honest,
maybe
I don't
he-
have a clue.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's some good stuff,
Yeah.
how do I be their friends?
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, dude.
Okay. Is there anyone else in present here who would like to speak for or against this petition?
Robert McFarland, 2505 Fairway Drive. Exactly where on the peninsula are they going to be building it? Is it on the back side or that's on the front
Sure.
side or the side? West, there's a lot of west there.
Well, just to make sure we keep it ordered, let's just have Mr. Novak make note of the questions that have been asked and or that, and then he usually has a chance to have rebuttal and then he can address all of those.
Okay. Is there anyone else present in the courtroom who would like to speak for or against this petition? Hearing no one, seeing no one, we'll move on to Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak for or against this petition?
Hi, my name is Amy Van de Streek. I'm the project architect for the property at 2520 Shorewood. And I would simply echo, well, I don't live in Long Beach, so perhaps my comment doesn't pertain here, but I would, if it does, I'm in favor of the petition and would simply echo the statements that Anthony very clearly stated.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? All right, then we'll close public comment. Okay,
Do you want to give him a chance to rebut or answer any? Is there anything you need to address?
I don't.
There's really nothing for me to rebut, but just one other point for Dr. LeMay. Given the ambiguity and the two potential statutes ordinances, that could apply sub B or sub E, another concern I would have is just that if the building commission thought that the other ordinance, 154-051B, would apply here, If I only proceeded under this without the official variance, again, as President McCormick said, I'm trying to do the belt and suspenders. If there was a sure shot here, I wouldn't be here, but I just want to make sure that I'm removing any potential roadblocks.
Yeah, and I mean, let's keep in mind too, are you done? Okay, all right, so we were closing the public speaking and now we can discuss the petition. I do want to point out that in the event that we decide to grant a variance, if he's met his standard, you know, if we denied it on the basis that he doesn't need a variance, if the building commission has a different opinion, he can't come back here for a year under the rules. So my thought would be that we take the petition on its face and grant it on that basis, or, you know, and then consider it on that basis.
Microphone.
So how about if we add a preface to our findings saying, if the building commission feels a variance is necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that that's probably I mean, we can make a finding that I think we can make a finding that we think that E is the applicable, as the applicable provision, and we can state why. And then we can you grant a conditional variance?
I think you can do a lot of things, but it's not my recommendation. And I want to throw one more curveball that probably supports Mr. Novak's reluctancy to pick a lane. I actually think that you could argue that B is the section. I think, first of all, the strongest argument is that it's ambiguous. And then generally, as we've discussed before, ambiguities, if they're to be construed outside of this room in a more formal setting, will be construed against you as the drafter, right? So there is a strong argument that no variance is needed. However, I think you can make that finding and point it out, but that isn't 100% clear. I think that the argument under E is any other structure, but the problem with that is the list before it, the character and nature of all of those aren't greenhouses, right? It's closer to B, but that's not clear either. And so I think that you have the ability, though, and I think if you're to choose one of those, my recommendation is to base that on B, in that because it talks about storage sheds and structures that are similarly situated to the greenhouse. Either way, if you are inclined to approve it, I think you get there either way. You can choose, including saying we don't need a variance at all. But I think, and as we have found in the past, this isn't as clear cut. So before, when there wasn't a variance needed, you've made that decision and the building commission has accepted that, but the lines have been a little more clear. In this instance, I think whatever you find, the building commission will also abide by that, but it's less clear. And, you know, Mr. Novak, I'm not advocating for that position, but the point is well taken that there are three options here. And if you don't make a decision on that, the building commission could decide that one of those other sections might be applicable. And I think choosing a lane and making a decision as presented, it won't be baseless. Whether you approve, deny, et cetera, it won't be baseless. You'll be making findings and decisions to support that, to which the building commission will abide. And if they don't, then there's procedures, you know, they'll be back here appealing their decision, right? But my recommendation is that if you make your analysis through B, you're entitled to do whatever you want, right? My advice is just my suggestion. So whether you grant it, deny it, decide to continue, I think that your analysis should stay under the similarly situated structures. Although we've had that discussion, and it's certainly plausible that any other structure falls within E. But I do think that the rest of trellises, et cetera, aren't the same character as what Yellow Bear seeks to do here.
I think we just, kind of prove the point, right? There's three lawyers here sitting there talking about the different interpretation of what this thing means, which means it is entirely plausible that the members of the building commission are going to have a different opinion than we have. So my thought would be to consider the petition as written and then make a vote on that. Any objections? Okay. All right. So we'll go in reverse order this time. John, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure, being a non-legal person
Oh,
here.
you're one
okay?
of the smartest people here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, who cares whether it's, the structure is under B or E. And, we should be talking about the structure itself, its location, and whether, we agree with it or not. That being said, I find it curious that, a variance is, being sought for nothing other than just in case. However, I also now understand the position we're in, and we already delay people enough. So I would term this thing, whether it's legitimate to consider it under section B or E. And if a variance is required, then we should provide the variance.
Charlie?
I'm as confused as with the lawyers here as anybody else, but in order to expedite the process and keep the wheels moving, I would say we propose a vote on the variance as is. And that way we've set a precedence of, we voted on it, whether it passes or not. And that then you can move along to the building commission.
Okay, Bob?
I guess my question is a reason to vote B and E. There's absolutely no confusion with the building commission.
That was my thought.
Okay, my thought is, and on the merits of the petition itself, that he's met all three criteria. There's no evidence, and he's presented evidence that there will not be injury to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. This is going to be constructed in a manner commensurate with the house. It's on an open lot, and it's going to, and it's in kind of like conformity with the surrounding neighborhood. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property subject to the requested development standards will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The greenhouse will have zero effect, or zero negative effect on the value of the property, and will likely enhance it. And the strict application of the zoning code will result in practical difficulties in the use of the subject property for which the requested development standard variance is sought. That's either met or it's inapposite, right? Because it either doesn't apply under E or I think it's met under B. So I'm in support of granting the petition based on our kind of resolution of how we're going to frame any motion to grant it. So I guess, Chris, that's where we would have to talk, get advice from you in terms of, it sounds like that there's at least two people who are somewhat cautious to grant a variance that's unnecessary. I personally think that the conditional variance is, a statement that we find that this is under E, but to the extent that, there's an interpretation it's under B, the variance is granted.
My recommendation wouldn't be conditional, and I think that you should press to make a vote once you have a motion and a second to either say there isn't one and leave it at that, or simply grant the variance based on both. There's arguments under both. I don't think that there's any harm if that is the inclination. There are valid arguments, even though they've asked for them in the alternative. You get to make the decision based on your findings and determination. So my recommendation to you would be one of the two things, is to vote, make a motion and vote to decide that there's no variance necessary, or approve it based on, in consideration of both. I will point out the biggest nuance between those two subsections is If B would be the only reason, then you're also granting a variance for the placement of the shed. E is flexible and they could pretty much put it in it front, side, rear. B requires that, but your net effect either way, if you grant a variance, is the same as that they get to build that greenhouse.
I make a motion to representative under both. Make a motion to grant the variance under both B and E.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Prepared to help you decide on your findings and decisions if you'd like, and summarize them. And Mr. McCormick has already summarized the legal requirements and the reasons why they've been met. I would also suggest that you add, just for future, and part of the meeting behind this is that as the Plan Commission and the council are considering right now updating the comprehensive plan, notations such as this will be helpful in clearing up the ambiguities, right? So one recommendation that I have is your findings, again, the record being the petition, the testimony, supporting documents, et cetera, that have all been presented. And so findings as follows: the town zoning code is ambiguous and does not specifically address petitioner's contemplated project. Number two, while the BZA notes that petitioner may very well not need any variance for the contemplated project due to the ambiguity in and potential interpretations of the zoning code, the BZA now specifically finds that the proposed greenhouse is governed by sections 154.051B and E, as the spirit and intention of these sections most appropriately addresses structures of the same or similar nature as the proposed greenhouse. And that covers the ambiguity that you were talking about, whether a variance is needed or not. And then the rest of these will hit the criteria that are required. The approval of the requested development standard variances from the town's general requirements of the zoning code will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, because the contemplated accessory structure will be constructed in a manner similar to other accessory structures and improvements that exist or that have been otherwise allowed in and around the immediate neighborhood, community in general, and all construction will be in compliance with the applicable provisions of the town's building code. The use and value of the adjacent area adjacent to the proposed their property subject to the requested variances will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and because as it will maintain its general compatibility with the character of the existing home and immediate neighborhood, and the strict application of the code will result in practical difficulties in the use of the subject property. The proposed greenhouse is a residential accessory structure compatible with those allowed under the zoning code and enjoyed by other owners in and around petitioner's neighborhood. Strict interpretation of the code will result in petitioner not being able to enjoy the same residential uses afforded to other property owners. Approval of the requested variance will appropriately address and reconcile the language of the code with petitioner's contemplated use and enable petitioner to enjoy its property in the same manner as other owners. That last one is a little overkill, but in general, that is the crux of the difference here. Is if greenhouse was in the list, then they wouldn't be here at all. So with that, that would be the basis for, those would be your findings and the basis for and in support of your motion to grant the petition.
Make a motion to accept the findings.
Second.
Okay. No, now he just read the findings, so now like we're adopting the findings. I mean, the one question I have is that, did you say that it was applicable, like it was under 154.0 B and E? Okay. Sure, that's fine. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, so it carries. All right, yeah, I gotta find my agenda. Okay. Yeah, so wait, no, we gotta take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.